In many ways, Israel has become a cyber defense first nation. For Tech Republic and ZDNet, I'm Dan Patterson with Ariel Evans. She is the CEO of InnoSec. Ariel, thank you very much for your time today. I wonder if you could tell me a few lessons learned that we in the West could derive from how Israel has treated cyber defense as a top priority.
Sure, absolutely. Primarily cyber started out as an IT function, and we had system administrators giving out permissions in SAP. The next thing you know, they were implementing firewalls, and then they were implementing IPS, and then they became a security manager. The next thing you know, they were a CISO. And none of these folks ever had any formal training in risk management, and really from the business point of view, looking at cybersecurity. So some of the things that Israel's doing really, really well is actually taking very specific situations that need to be solved from a business point of view and turning them into cybersecurity solutions. IoT is an example, cyber risk management is an example, cyber insurance solutions. These are all the next wave of innovation that needs to be addressed if we're going to stay in front of cybersecurity. The other thing that we see is companies being reactive instead of proactive and not understanding how cyber really impacts their businesses. And Israel is leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of the world when it comes to looking at this from a business perspective and understanding how different solutions and different innovation can help to reduce risk in cybersecurity and how that basically translates back to business risk reduction as well. So we're seeing a lot of innovation in those areas.
So the process you just described is a pretty organic process that I think probably exists at a lot of companies, particularly larger SMBs or smaller enterprise companies, where you have a workforce that is competent and trained and acquires new roles of decision-making capability, but not necessarily with the skills that would go along with that job. Are there suggestions or ideas for building cybersecurity in organically at the core so cyber also rises as employees rise?
Wonderful question, Dan. Absolutely. You're hitting it on the head. We have to automate as much as we possibly can in cybersecurity because we are resource deficient, basically. We don't have enough trained people. We don't have enough people who understand cybersecurity. So the more we can automate with tools and technologies, both at the business level in terms of cyber risk and at the point solution level in terms of cyber simulations or advanced threat prevention that's blocking malware from actually even entering into the organization, we're doing things that are a step ahead. And this is what Israel is really trying to set the tone with and show other different nation states how to do it right, do it once, do it right, do it the Israeli way, and get in front of the attacks, be proactive, don't be in the detect, remediate stage, be in the prevent stage. And that's where we see amazing technologies addressing this, automating vulnerability management, compliance management, and risk management, so that businesses don't have to do all the manual activities associated with the data collection efforts, associated with all of those different activities, which take over 30% of their time. And when we don't have enough resources, 30% are big numbers. We're talking billions and billions of dollars here. Using technologies that stop attacks from happening, so we don't have to spend 50% more of our money on remediation and detection activities because we don't have those resources. So these are things that we're really doing well, and I think really can be something that others can learn from and benefit from to make themselves more cyber resilient.
When you say automation, my brain hears machine learning and artificial intelligence. Two big buzzwords for sure, but also key technologies and innovations that really are having a profound impact on how companies not just do business, but how they save money. In what ways are you deploying, or are Israelis companies deploying AI in data collection, data analysis, and then the decision-making part of the chain?
Well, we're still early in that as well, but we are probably one of the first that are looking at this. So there are different technologies that are using AI in terms of user behavior analytics and things that actually catch bad behavior before the behavior becomes an issue. And we're looking at technologies that are taking big data analytics like from Watson. One of the things actually InnoSec is going to be doing is taking a look at integrating in with Watson and taking data from Watson. But when I talk about the automation part, I'm talking more at the real tactical level of the cybersecurity team and what they do on a day-to-day basis, which is, oh, I look at log files, and then I have to prioritize the log file and see, well, where do I start, and how much budget does that need, and what resource does that need? So we're looking at project management automation, task management automation, budget automation, and the automation of the whole vulnerability management component. Ditto on compliance and ditto on risk, and they're integrated together so that any audience member who wants to look at data the way they need to see data, it's immediately at their fingertips, so they can not only look at data and analyze data quicker and more efficiently, but then they can action on data. They can say, oh, I want to budget for this, or I want to assign this remediation effort because it's a SQL injection and it's a critical vulnerability that we need to remediate immediately. So the idea is to reduce the amount of money you have to spend on resources because they're short in supply, they're hard to find, and they cost a lot of money. And so if you're an SMB who has, you know, a very limited cyber budget, this is something that's incredibly helpful for you. If you're a larger organization and you've got all the bells and whistles and the fancy things, then you're going to go look at the AI stuff. And then you're going to go look at this big data analytics stuff because you're ready for that as well as what we're talking about with the automation piece on the cyber risk management and vulnerability and compliance management. So it all depends on your cybersecurity maturity and like where you are as an organization and how you can take these technologies. Like, what's the next right thing for you? Oh, it might be that, you know, you need to submit a SOC team because you don't really have a mature organization. So you're going to outsource maybe to an MSSP, which is fantastic for you because then that whole piece of your puzzle is solved by outsourcing. Or you're a really robust cybersecurity organization in a major financial institution who's already heavily regulated with all different kinds of tools. And now you're looking for what's the next thing I can do to become more cyber resilient. So it really all depends upon where you fit into the schema of your maturity.
Ariel Evans is the CEO of InnoSec. I'm very glad that you framed that as a maturation or as a spectrum of challenges as opposed to a checklist where I have to do A, B, and C and then I'm secure. Ariel, I know you just sold a company and I wonder if there are any lessons that you have learned in that company that could be helpful to other people who are kind of looking at the spectrum of problems and saying, I don't really know where to start. I need a model or somebody to use as a mentor or a guide in the cyberspace.
Sure. Yeah, I just sold a value-added distribution company of innovative Israeli cybersecurity vendors to a New York company, and they're across the gamut of different types of solutions. And what I would advise for organizations who are trying to figure out, like, where do they fit in terms of maturity and next steps, is to really take a look first and foremost at how many layered tools do you have and what do those tools do? Because those are your point solutions. So, you know, we start with the basics, firewall, IPS, SIEM/SOC, DLP, and then we get to look at some of these more interesting solutions that are more innovative, like advanced threat, like UVA, user behavior analytics, things that are more organized around the preventative side of things. And one of the best ways to do that is to go to different conferences and get lots of information about these companies and work with industry experts who have gone through this. So if you have a mentor in the field, somebody who you know has, you know, gone from 0 to 100 in their cyber program, ask them how they did it. Ask them what was important to you, because most organizations start with regulation. So I have to be PCI compliant. I have to be ISO compliant, and we've got the GDPR coming up, and that's going to blow the socks off of everybody. This is huge because it applies to anyone who processes EU citizen data, and the fines are absolutely astronomical, and you have to have compliance with the articles. And if the DPA comes knocking on your door and says, okay, you were breached, show me all your compliance information, and you don't have anything to show, you're going to be in deep doo-doo, basically. And that's not a place where you want to be. So we have to start with regulation, know your regulations and how that has to help, but that will help to form your cybersecurity roadmap, basically. and look at the point solutions and understand what the point solutions do. And there's lots of forums and there's lots of areas where if you don't understand what a technology does and what the benefit of it is, you can learn about it. So that's my suggestion. Start with regulation and then move your way up.